The imposter syndrome, like the fear and the doubt, is so high within us. You've been doing this for a very long time. Do you feel that fear even today?
Oh, I think everybody does. Everybody has imposter syndrome. I mean, like, I don't think that ever really goes away. We want our work to be seen. We want to be seen. We want to communicate. But it's also, how are we validated? Does that validate us? Should we be more self-validating? I think don't be afraid to make stuff that you think no one's gonna like and no one's gonna buy. Like those paintings to me have been the most rewarding that I've made, and don't ever be afraid to make those. If you just, I think, kind of like let your mind be open, you just get all this kind of sensory input, and I think that stuff that you connect with that's just kind of like coming in, that's I try to stay in tune. I don't want to sound too woo-woo because I'm not really a woo-woo person, but being in tune with that stuff, I think is really, really helpful.
Every morning, the first thing, so this has been me for the past few months, I wake up first thing in the morning and I go, I mean, how insane that sounds now, but that's what I do. I wake up in the morning, and as soon as 8 o'clock strikes, I know I need to post a reel on Instagram. And that's probably some work that, catches my attention, or I enjoy. And I'm like, so I was scrolling through the feed and I saw one of this work and I shared I think it said like tomatoes in a box or a painting something. And I loved it. Sorry, pomegranates in a box or painting or something. And I remember I put off my phone somewhere, and I came back a few hours later, and it was blown. People were like, my mind is blown. Like they were crazy. People were going crazy. How has this? Like, is this true? I mean, is this a painting? It's a box. I can't believe it. And it was the work. I remember the work was called Pomegranates, and everybody was so in love with it. And I was like, you know what? We need to get Natalie on the podcast. This needs to happen. So here you are.
Here I am. Yeah. Pomegranates. Who knew? That has been a super fun series. I started that, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago.
Goodness.
I moved studios, and like people are always like, how did you come up with that idea? And like, I have all these still life props. I mean, moving studio for me is really a horrible experience. So I moved and I was impacted, and I had all these props in a box, and I was like, oh, ooh, you know what? That might be really interesting. And I had been working on cradled panels with the really deep sides. And so I started that series, and it's been super fun. Like I love composing everything in the boxes, but I also love doing little stamps around the sides. Which
I've seen your obsession about them.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. I mean, I have made paintings just so I could use some really silly stamp things on the sides. They've been really fun, and they've been nice. I've done quite a few commissions with those. So getting to collaborate with other people and sort of like their vision and what is meaningful for them, that's been a real treat. I've gotten to do some really nice work with people.
I love that. Okay, tell me something. So I practiced this word for a couple of times before we started recording. Trampoline. Am I right?
Oh, that's perfect. It's so much better than my pronunciation. Yes, that is perfect.
I was like, let me practice this before I actually go and say it on the mic. So trampoline, for anybody who doesn't know, is hyper-realistic that give you a perception of real versus how your painting was. Can you define it better? I think I'm not doing a good job.
Yeah, no, the Trompe-l'oeil is a little different than hyperrealism. Classic Trompe-l'oeil is something that usually has a very narrow depth plane. So you see a lot of things like hung on a wall.
Okay.
Where it's very flat, and it's supposed to look like you can almost touch them and peel them off, sort of thing, like things hanging from a ribbon, that sort of thing. A broader definition of trompe-l'oeil obviously just means fool the eye in French, where it looks like things that are two-dimensional are actually, or things that appear three-dimensional are painted. So it's a two-dimensional surface.
Yes.
That is
And look
actually
like three
my favorite.
dimensional.
Yeah, so it is meant to sort of trick the viewer, and that is actually the reason I used to paint a lot more still life, and I got interested in trompe l'oeil because there is sort of this moment with the viewer where they have a shift in perception, like that. And for me, that's the whole point. Like they're looking at it, they think it's real, and then all of a sudden they realize it's painted. And that sort of moment for me, where you're able to change someone's visual perception and their experience of the art, that is my money shot. That is what I'm all about. That's
I
my
love
favorite part.
that. Yeah, and like it's like it's like that one reactions when you get out of the audience, like the reaction that I saw in the comments, I was like, oh my God, it wasn't just me. Because sometimes what happens is like you share a work and, I resonate with it, but not often. Like everybody would feel the same way about something. We all have very different perceptions. But I remember there are quite a few works that you share that really blows everybody's mind. And I think yours was, of course, one of them. And I want to ask you, how did you land on this idea? Like, did you set, like, I'm sure there would have been a lot of your own um, evolution on how you've been doing this now. Um, can we go back a little in time and see how your work evolved and you've landed here?
Yeah, that it's so funny when we were talking before you started recording. We have a very similar story in that I had a whole nother career before I
Really?
started being a painter. Yeah, I was a classical cellist.
Yes, I saw that. Yes, yes, yes. And you know what's even more interesting is I had to guess, I had to ask this. So when I was reading on your website, it said, so you've written that you wanted you know, a more creative outlet than music for you. And I'm really interested in learning. What do you have to say about that?
I had started playing the cello when I was a very small child, like 6, 7 years old. And like by the time I was 15, I had left home. I'd gone to performing arts high school. I never moved back. I never lived at home again. I was always touring or so that is a whole other podcast. We don't even need to get into that. But I had moved to New York and I was working in New York and, just kind of had a moment where I was in my early 20s and I was very burned out. I had been doing this at a very high level for a very long time
And
and
you were
was
very
very bored.
successful.
I was. I mean, and I think sometimes, you can have success at something but not enjoy it, and like
Yes,
you kind of get
absolutely.
trapped there.
Yes,
Yeah, when you were telling me about the whole fashion thing, I'm like, oh, I get this.
yes.
But I think, it's like I just realized that I was probably going to spend the rest of my life sitting in an orchestra playing Mahler's symphonies, and it just terrified me. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want to do that now. And, I think a lot of people think, I mean, with classical music, yes, it is creative, but you're following the notes on a page. They are telling you what to
Yes.
do. It's not like jazz or improv or something which I consider to be very creative.
Yeah.
So I just dropped out. I'm like, I have to rethink my life. Like, this is not
And
going the
how
way I
old
want
were
it
you
to
by
go.
then?
I was like 21, 22.
So you were
Yeah,
pretty
early
successful
20s.
in something.
Yeah, and like everyone, my family, my friends, everyone thought like my life path was set.
Was set. Yes, you were that child who would like be like, look at her.
Yep, I was that kid, and so I just dropped it. I'm like, I'm done. I got to reevaluate this, and I started taking classes at an art school in New York City, just like nighttime, for adults. I've never been to an art school. I've just studied with different teachers in different places. I have no art degree. I have no like degree that says I'm an artist. So yeah, I just started taking classes. I really loved it because for me, that was a creative outlet. Like that to me was so much more creative than like following along in the orchestra and playing the notes on the page.
But you know what? There's something that comes to my mind about this. I felt pretty much similar when it came to fashion, and I feel very different about things today. So I studied fashion academically uh, after I studied history, actually. Both of them that I never thought I'll again have anything to do with are today playing one of the most like instrumental part of my own practice as an artist. And when I started my own business, when I was also working in the fashion field, I had just the same thing. Like I felt that this was a creative outlet for me, but it was only till the point where I was in a class. learning something, having the permission to experiment, having like, things like that. But the moment I went into the real world, it was about getting things done. It was about, orders and deliveries and like stuff like that. And I felt like I I wanted to do this because I wanted to be a creative, and this doesn't feel like that for me. And I want to have a better creative outlet. And it was very hard for me, and I wasn't even remotely successful as you were. But it was a major setback for me to realize, like, anything that I thought, like, we all have these visions and ideas a lot of time that, okay, when I grow up, or you know I want to be this. And specifically, so when I did fashion, I really fought with my family, like my father, because for them it never made sense. And I was like, now it's like a prestige issue also, because I took this big leap, and now I'm saying I don't want to do this after 3 4 years, I think 4 years. And it really shook my own trust on myself, and it took me a long time to build that back. Did you have anything like that, because you were doing pretty well, and people would tell you, okay, you're doing so good, or did you have any moments of self doubt when you were regrouping yourself and thinking what you want to do further?
I am sure I did. I mean, it has been a long time ago now. Like I am in my 50s. So like we are
Yes.
talking like ancient history. I am certain that I did, because like I do remember that being a really tough part of this whole art thing. It's like trying to go to school and trying to learn and trying to work a full-time job and trying to put art, and still try to find time to like be creative. I was pretty single-minded. I'm very stubborn. So I don't remember anybody. I'm sure a lot of people tried to talk me out of it, but I was pretty bent on it at that point. I really was very loved what I was doing and very passionate about it. But I'm sure there were. I think my moments of self-doubt came a little later.
Okay, when was that?
When I studied in New York for 10 years with a bunch of different people, but the
Yes.
bulk of my education, I spent 6 years with a painter named Michael Aviano,
Yes.
who
Yes.
really taught me everything I know. I'm incredibly grateful to him. I mean, it was a very
Six
intense,
years.
hardcore. Yeah, I mean, six
It's a
years.
long
Like it
time.
was, it was a long time. But I remember when I graduated from his program, and it was very informal. Like we sat in his living room, kind of thing. He only took a few students. It's a that would actually be another podcast. But
Yes,
anyway, when I
we'll have
finished
several podcasts, that means.
when I finished with Michael, and I see this today because I do talk to a lot of young artists.
Yes.
I love like talking, and having art friends in our community is so important. But in speaking with them, like that was the hard part for me, was getting out of school, because now like you don't have that community every day and you're not working towards goals. All of a sudden you're just on your own, and it's like,
Own.
here you go be an artist. And like that was hard. That to me was very difficult, because you're still working, you're trying to put together a portfolio, you're trying to start a career where maybe you're going to sell work, or you're going to meet collectors or galleries. You're trying to get it going. You have a skill set, that you've just spent years learning, and it's hard. I mean, it is that to me, that was the most difficult part.
I mean, you were already a musician. So I think the fear of being a creative, independent creative, I'm sure it wasn't, I mean, it wouldn't be so high. Was it like, the idea of financial stability, how you would make a career out of this? Like, did you have any of those?
I was very fortunate in one aspect. I wasn't that worried, because, like you said, is when I was a musician, like I'd gotten used to hustling. Like, I mean, I got
Yes.
a lot of hustle. I had 3 orchestra contracts. I had a string quartet. I would show up and play weddings, bar mitzvahs, furniture
So you
openings.
were
Like, oh,
like,
whatever.
you were used to getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I was used to like hustling.
Truly.
So that I was kind of okay with that. But I think with the art thing, it was hard to even get the hustle started. It's like,
Yeah.
but I ended up getting, I was always had a job like waiting tables, or doing things
Yeah.
like that always. And I was very lucky in that I got a job working as a decorative painter. And the
Wow.
reason, yeah, doing like faux finishes and stenciling and, glazing walls and like all that stuff. But what was nice about that is it had some flexibility. Like I could take a job and work,
Okay.
I could go do like, the lobby of some fancy New York City building for 3 weeks, and then I could take off a week or two and paint. So
Oh,
that for me became very important because it kind of enabled me to transition into having a portfolio, into being able to approach galleries, into like building a career that way. And I still had somewhat a stable income that I could kind of pick and choose when I would work. So, like, I always give that advice. I'm like, if you have a 9 to 5 job, that can be tough. That is
yes.
really tough, to try
Yes.
to having something with a little more flexibility. If you can find a good fit, for me, that was a big deal.
Even when I was in the beginning of my career, so I did a lot of design and branding. That's also one of my major skill sets. And I used to work with a company which is of my friends and which is very is doing amazing now. And I always knew that I couldn't do a 9 to 5, and um, I really literally I knew that I could make a lot more money if I would take a job like that. But that also means giving up the choice of what I don't want to do with my own time. That was very important to me. And in the long run, today, I think I was able to find my footing in both the places and actually work for both, like for better, because it, on one end, it never put the pressure of making money from my art instantly, taking a lot more risk, investing in myself. And honestly, I think when you work in something different from what you're doing, there's so much of a learning curve and so many skills that you learn that you actually can apply in your own practice. I think that's something I truly like. I feel like I wouldn't have been a more practical in the sense of an artist holistically who has knowledge about a lot of things other than just my own work if I would have wouldn't have put myself out there, like getting that discomfort, like learning about business even if I didn't had to, and marketing and like building a business, or like all of those things that come very handy today.
Oh my God, that's such an amazing skill set you have. I mean, like, I know so many people that don't have that, and like to start with that as a foundation and then be able to build a creative practice around that. Like, you are so like ahead of everybody else with that. Like, I mean, I've had so many conversations with people about branding, and like, no, that's incredible, to be able to build off that.
You've had quite a few years of like of doing this. You've been doing this for quite some time. What do you think was your biggest fear of, like, if you look back today, what do you think was something that held you back the most?
I guess I think something that and this is something I still try to balance in my own work, and I don't want to say held me back, because this will sound really bad in that in that context.
Let's say you
Um,
struggled with, or however you want to reframe
Something I
it.
struggle with.
It's your
That's good.
answer.
I like that. I think something that I struggle with is probably because I make my living selling art. I mean,
Yes.
95% of my income comes from gallery sales,
Okay.
right? Like that is my path. Other people, there's a lot of ways you can make money as an artist, but
Yes.
that's where I'm at, which is I'm very lucky and very fortunate. Don't get me wrong. But I do have to find a balance between making work that is quote unquote commercial, you know,
Yes.
versus work that I feel very fulfilling. It's when I first started out, I did a lot more still life, which is very popular. And I was doing a whole series of like floral paintings, let's say. And people love them. The galleries love them. They're like, oh, you should make a bunch of these. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, but I would also like to do this sort of strange thing over here. And they're like, yeah, that's not going to sell as well. We really just want the flower paintings. So that's an example. But I think,
Yes. Yes.
commercially, that's something everybody struggles with. You want to make work that's fulfilling to you, work that is communicating and speaking to your viewers, that isn't just decorative. But you also want to you want to pay your rent.
Out of like all these years, you may have had, I'm sure you would. I looked at your work, of course. Um, Different transitions, like like one, there's a phase, like I think we all artists as artists have like these different phases. Like sometimes like you are in this place of life where you're really interested in one particular subject, and then you move from one and another, and those transitioning phases are, I think, one of the hardest, because that is one thing to tell the world what you are doing, but to not knowing yourself where you want to go, How do you deal with that time being of, where you've been selling via galleries for so many years? How do you deal with those transitions?
I have sort of, I had a big one a few years ago where I was doing a lot of trompe l'oeil crayon drawings, and like the recession hit, and all of a sudden nobody was selling anything. So I got to actually really hit the reset button on that and really think about what I was going to do differently. But I
And
think,
then what did you do?
I just made a whole new body of work. I'm like, I'm done. Like I'll still make a few of those, but like I've got to like change. I've got
Shift
to
things
change
up.
course here. I mean, with me, I guess in one way, it's like I'm always making work that's trompe l'oeil. Like, so it's
Yes.
not like all of a sudden I'm making something that's radically different. I think my themes change. Like
Yes.
I paint a lot in series. Like I have like
Yes.
comic things I like, and then there's like crayon things, and there's box paintings, and there's collages. It's I have in back
Yes.
of the canvas paintings, which I freaking love. I would just make those. I want to do a solo show so badly where it's
The
just
back.
paintings turned to the wall. Be
Yes.
hilarious.
I think that would be a pretty great idea.
No one wants to do this show with me though.
You
But
should do the show.
they
You
should,
should
right? It'd
do
be
the
hilarious.
show.
But I think painting in series has been good for me that way. So it's not like but I do see some really amazing like, realist artists that are doing one thing, and then all of a sudden they're like, 180. Now they're doing something totally different. So I tend to kind of keep doing my little thing. It's recognizable as my work and trompe l'oeil,
Yeah.
but I do
Yeah.
switch up themes a lot. Like, and I think that helps me stay kind of fresh too, so that I'm not making the same thing over and over and over again. Like if I made nothing but box paintings, I'd probably go a little crazy. I think I'd get a little tired.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Okay, tell me something, honestly. How long have you been making the trampoline paintings?
Um, I I was probably working full time as an artist the late 90s. So, and I probably switched over to pretty much trompe l'oeil full time somewhere in the early, maybe around 2005, 2006. So like,
Goodness,
I would
20
say maybe
years.
10
Let's say
years in.
20.
Because for me, like I loved still life, and I would still paint still life. This is not me getting down on still life. I think still life is awesome, but it doesn't have the humor and the whimsy, and
Yes.
that's what I
Yeah.
really love. Like for me, like the yeah, that's it for me.
When you're saying this, when I actually saw your work, I think actually it makes sense what you're saying. You do love a lot of still life. And I was looking at your process. Like when you make these paintings, you actually break the glass. And then, like you said in the interview, that you're not making this up in your head. Like you're
No,
literally staging the setup so that you can actually spin it off.
yeah, and I don't work from photographs. Like, and I think this is, and I'm not anti-photo. Like people that work from photographs, this is awesome, good for you. I just happen to be a really bad photographer. So, I was trained to paint from life. So
Life, yes.
that's what I do. I enjoy having it in the studio and being able to observe it, firsthand
Yeah,
instead of having
yeah,
like, the photograph is observed firsthand, but there's almost a little barrier between you and this. You've got a version of the subject. You're not sort of
yeah.
in the moment with it. But that's just me. That's how I like it. So, being able to set it up and work from life, I love like building collages, building the little boxes. That's my favorite part. I love painting them is hard.
As I speak to you and as I've seen your work and, trying to put these pieces together, how I can imagine it right now? I feel like your trampoline paintings are like your spin-off on still life with an addition of your personality, because I've seen like you are this very humorous, like very energetic, fun person, even though this interview may not be like, I think I'm pretty opposite to that, because I love serious conversations and questions like that. But in general, you have this amazing energy, which is very energetic. And still life is a little slow, it's more serious, it's like going into, and like when I look at your work, if there's no edges, when I look at it, it's like a still life painting for me, let's say, as a viewer. And I'm talking in a very literal sense, because I think a lot of people like us who are within the arts understand, okay, this is a trampoline or this is like this. But when you're viewing art as art, people feel like, oh my God, this is so real. And the moment you shift on the edge, like you see the twist, or you try to touch it and you try to see that, oh, this isn't like, and that is, I think, your twist to your love, adding a bit of who you are.
It is absolutely like because you know what, like, I mean, the other thing too, it's like a little kind of what we've been talking about. Like, there are some amazing still life painters out there, but like, you know, I painted a piece over the summer that had a shark with a laser beam strapped to its head, and I mean, that's hilarious. Like, who's going to make that painting? Like, somebody has to make that painting. It should be
Yes.
me. You know, like, we don't need like another beautiful painting of mums from me. No, we don't need to do that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
not when I can paint the shark with the laser beam. So yeah, I think that's part of it.
Okay. Next question. Tell me something. Do you ever feel like you're now, let's say you've been painting for 30 years?
Basically.
Okay. And you're this very confident person that I see, like, you have a very positive energy and you know what you're doing, right? So I'm going to ask you this question.
In
We got you
theory.
here. This is exactly what I want to talk about, which is something a lot of artists, I think most of us, struggle with. I was recording in the morning with another beautiful artist, and we were speaking about how. So she said, even though she has a beautiful career, she's very successful, very popular. She said she didn't have a proper job, and we hold that moment. I was like, this is an interesting topic. This is something I want to talk about, like how we as artists, like the imposter syndrome, like the fear and the doubt is so high within us. You've been doing this for a very long time. Okay. Do you feel that fear even today?
Oh, I think everybody does. Everybody has imposter syndrome. I mean, like, I don't think that ever really goes away.
How has that fear evolved for you?
Gosh. Oh, that's a hard one. I think for me, when I start feeling that way, when I do feel that way, is usually when I'm making work that is not satisfying to me. It's when when my fear is that people are going to think I'm a hack, which may be a little nuanced over imposter syndrome. But I mean, it's nomenclature, it's just word choice. A hack. That's probably my fear. That I'm making schlocky work. I'm making cheap work. I'm making just work that's commercial, that I'm just churning it out for a buck. Like, that is my fear. And usually when that happens, I kind of readjust what I'm going to work on. It's like that to me pushes me towards, like, the paintings that maybe are a little more difficult or are going to be a little stranger or a little more out there. That for me, that's my anecdote to that.
Okay, tell me something. You've said something interesting, and this is the second time. Like, so mass fashion is, let's say, a lot more commercial fashion than, let's say, designer segment or a luxury or a couture. But you'd never see, let's say, a mass fashion designer say that, okay, they're doing it for commercial or they're making money out of it. And but when we as artists, I think when we are successful and we're selling fast, a lot of us have this idea of being a sellout, or we're being a commercial artist. This fear is within all of us, no matter what kind of work we're doing. And I think I'm just interested in just talking about this because, like, looking at you, you have like an incredible, like, you've done some amazing things, you've shown your work, you've have had these awards, and, like, in spite of, like, if I were to read your bio and, like, your accolades, it'll take me quite a few minutes, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I've been doing it a long time. As you said, I am
Yes.
old. It's just a testimonial to how old I am. But yeah.
No, I don't. I wouldn't comply by that. I think we all as artists, I think we struggle with the idea. I think these notions, and I think that's why I started this podcast. And I'm like, no, I truly believe. I truly, when I'm looking at your work and your energy, and I'm sure the work that you do, I'm sure, oh my God, the amount of hours and the amount of work and the technical skill it takes to go that far is, like, we know how hard it is. I think anyone who's anywhere remotely associated with being a creative, we all understand how challenging it is. And in spite of all of that, when we're doing well, we're so afraid because being an artist comes with this baggage that we have to think about, like, am I do you like what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think it's I mean I don't feel badly about being able to pay my mortgage. Like that is not like I don't
Badly.
feel bad. Right? Like, I mean I have not had to go get a job like mixing paint at like Home Depot, like mixing house paint yet, which is my fallback. I'm like, if this doesn't work out, that's what I'm gonna do. I mean, because I have no skills. I can't even fold sweaters at the Gap. Like, no. I mean, I gotta go mix paint at the hardware store.
I think you would be a very good comedian. Honestly, have you ever
Yeah.
tried stand-ups?
Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. Oh, I don't know. I don't. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I've been thinking a lot about lately external validation.
Yes.
Like I think that so many art, like we want our work to be seen. We want to be seen. We want to
Same,
communicate.
absolutely.
But it's also, how are we validated? Does that validate us? Should we be more self-validating? Like should we just feel good about what we've made?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
have that is not that's more of just a topic for discussion than like something I have an answer to. I don't have an answer.
Right,
No answer
absolutely.
for
We're
me.
not looking for an answer.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that because like I do think I probably I get maybe I'm relying too much on external validation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To kind of like
Yeah, we all are.
yeah, like that's something I kind of feel like I need more balance there.
Yeah, and I think I think being an artist is also it's I think it's not even just the validation. I think we've made it, or people around us have made it so, like, if you have to be an artist, you have to be this, like, pious, like this, you know this persona that, okay, a good or a creative person isn't like, you do not have to be too commercial. And honestly, I feel this is one of the things that holds a lot of artists, specifically in the beginning of their career, back. I think it held me back for a very long time because I felt like, so people, because I didn't come from an art school and I was a designer, I still remember. So this is like a huge framer. Um, from where I am, and very successful, frame some of the most outstanding works made in India, and all of that. And I was this new artist, coming out of fashion design, making like these amazing details. Like, I really love my work. Even when I look that back, I really did good work. And I went to that framer and I told them, I want to get this framed. And so at that point, I was so obsessed with colors. My work was very, very colorful. It's not as colorful today. And I was very obsessed with those colors. And I told him that I wanted to have a green lamination with it. Like, and he was like, you know what? That seems like a lot more crafty. And I'm sure you do not want to, do like that. Um, a white wall, a white padding, like, frame is what, is a quality perception of art. And instantly I felt discarded. I felt, and I was still very conscious of my own identity, of not coming from an art school, being like, a designer, and like still all of those things. And I held myself back, and I was so ashamed, like, that I'm this commercial artist, like this crafty person who's just trying to be like this artist. And today, I'm exactly where, even further, I mean, in the way of how I would want to frame my work, in the way I would want to, all of, even further. And this is something, I think, how we're captured, like, we're suppressing our own creativity. Do you have, what is the worst advice you've heard so far, like something like this that really, like, have you ever had an experience like that?
Oh, like somebody mansplaining how to frame my work?
Yes.
Yeah, sure,
No, no.
absolutely. I mean,
Really?
I mean,
Is that
oh, sure.
is that so
Um,
common?
well, I mean, I I definitely had that experience with a framer in New York City who, like, I went in and I had these very colorful little still life paintings that I needed a frame for right away. He was the only guy that would make a frame right away. Like, I could have it
Okay.
in a week. And he was really rude. And I was like, oh, I want these sort of crazy frames over here. And he's like, no, you just want gold. And like, you don't know what you're doing. And like, and at this point I was like, I got really intimidated. And the thing was, the paintings were on stretcher bars. They were stretch canvas. And then he took it and he put the thing together and he took a nail and he started hammering into the back of the thing. And I was so freaked out. And this guy had been so rude to me. I was like, stop, just stop. Like, I let go of that painting. I'm leaving. Like, I'm out the door. But it just, yeah, I've had weird things like that happen.
What was the worst experience? Can you recall one? Let's look at it. The most insane advice.
Oh my God. I'd have to think about that for a second. I mean, because I've had a lot of really bad advice.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, geez. Oh, because there's like career advice, there was teaching advice, there's
anything that you want to share.
I was studying at the Art Students League in New York City, which is like a big art school. And it's sort of anyone can go and study there. They had some very famous teachers. And this was when I was first learning to draw and paint. And like, I knew nothing. I mean, I was like ground zero. I did not come from an artistic background. I had never drawn and painted anything. My parents were not, like, zero. So I'm in the school. I'm taking a life drawing class. And I know I want to paint realistically. Like, I do know that much. I figured that out. Like, I want it to look like the thing. And I'm studying with this very famous anatomy teacher. And so the class is life drawing. We're drawing from a model and there are anatomy lessons. But it's very frustrating because it's this huge class and there's light everywhere. You know, the model's moving around. Like, it's we didn't have a one directional light source. We didn't have like the model was not really, it was a hot mess. And I remember going up to him after class and I was like, this is kind of a hot mess. Like, I am struggling. Yeah. The model's all over the place. The lighting is all over the place. I'm trying to learn.
Find a way.
And he's like, dear, go home, take an egg, put it on the table, put your light on it that you want, and shade it, and then you'll know how to, draw the human form. And I thought, this guy's an idiot. Like this is the guy teaching the anatomy class? Like, I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. Like, if it was that simple, like, yeah. So I remember that one. That one kind of blew my mind. I'm sure I've gotten tons of advice, but like now that I'm on the spot, I'm having a hard time thinking of really horrible ones. Yeah.
No problem. Whenever you do remember, let us know. Send me a voice note. But that's also a good thing. I think that also shows like how you let go of things.
I try. Oh, I don't let go of much. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I kind of wear that stuff like a birthmark. Yeah. I don't know. A lot of replaying like what I should have done later. I'm like, oh, I wish I'd said that. Oh, I wish I'd said that. Yeah. A lot of that. Well, it's like I'm alone all day long painting, so I have a lot of time to like ruminate. Yeah.
yes, I get that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your work because a lot of people would want to hear that, and we've taken quite a few, actually quite a few long time to reach here. But okay, tell me something. I'm very interested in knowing how long does it take for you to make these paintings? What your process looks like. I know that you set up these, but like I saw that yes, you also have like what is with the words? You apart from those pomegranate paintings, I saw there was like the puzzle pieces together, and you had those pearls. And for that moment, I was like, you know what? Oh wow, I'm very excited when I see someone else using pearls and embroideries. And then I realized, oh my god, it's not the pearl; it's actually a painting. So and the collage ones, my absolute favorite. The Mars one, the spider. What was that? You spoke about it in one of your interview, and I saw that. Oh God, what was it? The one with the hand drawn look and feel, like the crushed paper with crayon look. And I was like,
oh, I've done a lot of the crayon ones.
Yes.
Is it a collage painting? I'm trying to think which a lot of them have masks.
No, it was spider. It had like a quote written on.
The spider from Mars.
Yes, spider from Mars. Yes.
I think it kind of depends on the paint, like kind of which series it is. Some pieces, like the crayon ones, I actually do pretty quickly, only because I've made so many of them. With
And
something like that,
what is quick for you?
quick for me. Quick for me would be a week. Quick for me would be about a week. Most of my paintings take around 2 to 3 weeks. It kind of depends. But also when I say week, I should be clear. I paint a lot. I'm like one of those like very obsessive people that I have no problem painting for 10 hours a day. And if I have a
Wow.
tight deadline, which unfortunately I usually do have a tight
Do.
deadline, which I
Yeah.
do like. Like I set
Yeah.
those up. They're very motivating for me. I thrive on pressure. It's not for everybody. I totally get that. But yeah, if I have to paint 12 hours, I'll do that. I
No
always have a
problem.
target, right? Like I know when things have to be dried, to be varnished, to be framed, to be shipped. I'm playing a long game. I got a long game.
Yeah.
So when I say something takes a week, we're talking 70 hours. We're not talking like 40 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like to build everything and set it up, whether that is like a crayon drawing. I actually draw it all out in crayon. I crumple it up. I tape it to the wall. Like everything is
Wow.
sitting in the studio. So that is always my process. I do tend to make very
Then you also
simple.
break the glass?
Oh yeah. Oh, I have like I'm looking at it right now. I have probably 20 different glass panes that I've broken and then sort of taped, and then I carefully store them. So like depending on the size of the frame that it's sitting, like I have all these different little broken glass models that I can just switch in and out of frames. I know it's so silly, but it's I like to have it set up. But
Yeah.
yeah, I have a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
way too much junk in my studio. But I have
Never
everything
done.
set up. I tend to make a very simple line drawing. I mean, it's accurate, but I don't get crazy with like shading. I don't need it. I just need a really simple line drawing. I use an oil transfer, which I'm actually going to put a reel on Instagram today about oil transfers because I'm doing that later. I have a new
Yes.
painting
I
ready
can't
to
wait to
go.
see.
But yeah, it's fun. I mean, I like oil transfer, and if you watch the reel, you will find out why, because
I
they're
will.
awesome. But,
I will.
there's a lot of ways to transfer onto panel, but I do paint on panel.
Yes.
I figure out the drawing.
Actually, the world thing you paint on cartons.
Yeah, it is not painted on a carton. A lot of people think it's
I
cardboard.
know.
I actually
Yes.
had somebody ask me if I glued the cardboard to the sides, and I'm like,
I also thought that.
no. Like,
Me
no,
too.
I didn't.
When I first saw that, I felt like you'd put. I had like an idea because with Instagram now like there will be a twist that would come, and I was like, I think I was expecting that this would like it. They seem so real, but I had this like intuitively like this wouldn't be like this would be a painting, but it came to me as a surprise when the edges came out, and I was like, maybe the painting is in in a carton, and then it was like it took me quite a few videos to figure out that actually that was a panel.
I've started doing ones now where I hold them and do turn them. So I'm like, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but like I just make a simple drawing and transfer it and then paint. Like my process is really simple. There's not really much going on besides that. What was I going to say? I do, one thing that I've noticed, I think is kind of funny. I tend to build these things not knowing what size they're going to be. Like I have a new collage that I'm starting today, and like I just glue everything down. I get very inspired. I do not worry about how am I going to paint this thing. I'm like, I will figure that out later. Like
Later.
I'm going to just put everything that I want in there, and I'm not going to think about how big it is or how I'm going to paint it. I'm just going to make the thing that I love and then deal with it. So,
Okay.
last night I was working on my drawing for this new one. I'm like, holy crap, this thing's huge. It's huge. It's like 22 by 18, which for me is like giant. And
Yeah.
I'm sure anybody listening to this podcast is now laughing hysterically because that is not giant by anybody's standards except mine. But, but I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be big. This is going to be really big. So, but I do size, I make everything fit my composition. Like I don't start and go, well, I need something that fits an 8 by 10 panel. Everything. And then I cut all my own panels. It's all custom made. So like sometimes I end up with these really weird panels. My framer's like, it's 16 3/4 by 22 1/8. And I'm like, yeah, and you're a custom framer. So this shouldn't be an issue. You should be able to make that frame, no problem. So I do work backwards a little bit that way, that like everything fits the composition, not the other way.
Yeah. And often we think like the flow is linear versus a lot of times it's so much of back and forth and twisting and shaping and like,
Oh my God.
questioning yourself.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see can you see this in the
I
background, this
can see like a
board back
transfer.
here?
I can see a transfer.
It's there's a board back behind there. Anyway, I have the big inspiration board in my studio. And I'm
Oh
like
wow.
super old school where it's like they're little scraps
Cut.
of paper or things I found on the ground. And like so it's like that's where I keep everything. And I like to have it out. Like I know a lot of people keep computer files, but like I need like the scrap of
Printing.
paper.
Yes.
So I mean I have stuff that's been up there for years. And, you know, eventually I kind of get to it. Sometimes it's song lyrics or a piece of poetry or like a leaf. I mean, like I have like this little man I made out of branches 3 years ago to do like a forest scene, and he's just hanging out. He's waiting. So I tend to just catalog everything up there when I'm organizing like a solo show. I have a big show coming up in the fall in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so, you know, already I'm starting to make lists of what that show's going to be and coming up with a title and coming up with like what I'm going to make. So I'm kind of ready to go once that's all kind of worked out. But yeah, I love that. Like that, if my house burned down, I'd probably grab that. That would be like one of the things I would be running up the front, which is why I should probably have it digitized. Like, that would be smarter. But yeah, no,
You can
because
take a
I
photo
feel
of that just in case that happens.
well, I had a teacher tell me, and I don't think this is accurate exactly, but a teacher early on who told, and he was old, he was probably my age now. He's like, you know, as you get older, I'm like, oh, that poor guy, it's ancient, like 50. He's like, as you get older, you're going to run out of ideas, so make sure you write them down, which I don't think I run out of ideas, but writing them down, really good idea. You know, it's like you have this wellspring.
I think something that I feel like I would really like if something comes to my mind, I would write it somewhere. I do not have like one place always. Like it's my notes app, it's my journal, and then it's my daily planner and stuff like that. And I love collecting. Like I love collecting books, but I also love filling and then looking back at those pages and just looking at what I was thinking at that point. And so
Mhm.
many times that has happened to me when when I look back at an old notebook and I see the back papers and I have these like checklists, like I have to do this. And I remember this just happening like a couple of months back. I remember when I started Arts to Hearts and I had these like, I would host, exhibits and, make books and like, we'll have something like this. And I had these like tickers and everything was pending by then. And when I looked, I had checked off all of that. And I feel like the moment I start writing, no matter how that timeline is, but I do feel that it does make a lot of difference in the reality that you're creating.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, that's, yeah. And because, you know, the other thing, it's like, I used to think I was going to remember. Like, oh, I'll remember. No,
Yes.
I don't remember.
No.
Like, I mean, I forget things by lunchtime, and it might have been a great idea. So, yeah, that to me, that is invaluable. Not everything on
Yes.
there is going to be a painting, but like things change, things move,
Yes.
things mutate. So, yeah, that's a big
Okay.
thing for me.
Okay, last before we go into the rapid fire. Okay. How do you find new ideas? You've been painting for
Oh,
a very long time. Okay. You've been doing this again for a long time. So I'm asking you questions that are like, 30 years, you're painting and you're making these paintings for such a long time. I'm sure
yeah.
at some point you're like, what do I do now? Do you come with that moment or how do you keep inspired?
I think just being open to ideas, like just, you know what I mean? I mean, this is ridiculous to say, but like, I'm really visual, you know, it's like just seeing things and being, just kind of staying open to it. I don't know, because like, I'll see something that just kind of like I was reading a poem like years ago called and somewhere in it was the line "the transparent heart." And I mean, this is just an example because that's what I'm working on. And I thought, I have no idea what that means, but I love that idea. And so I wrote it down, you know, and it's like, and now it's a painting. So it's like, I think just continually being open to things,
Yeah.
you know, just kind of letting ideas kind of come to you and like just being open, you know, because I think it's easy to kind of like shut that down a little bit and just being like, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to make this thing. I'm doing this thing, you know,
Yeah.
because like sometimes I get the craziest ideas, like if I'm out for a walk or like, you know, just if you just, I think kind of like let your mind be open, you just get all this kind of sensory input. And I think that stuff that you connect with, that's just kind of like coming in, that's I try to stay in tune. I don't want to sound too woo-woo because I'm not really a woo-woo
No.
person, but like being in tune with that stuff, I think is really, really helpful.
Love that. I am so excited that we were able to do this.
I know. Thank you so much.
It's like we've spoken for almost an hour, like it's 50 minutes and it's just flown by. And I say this for every podcast episode. I'm like, how quick time goes when you're speaking to people and you're really enjoying. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I'm very grateful for your honesty.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, yeah, I will. Sometimes I don't have a good answer, but yeah, yeah.
Oh, you had great answers. Okay, but let's have a little bit fun. Okay, I have a quick
Okay.
rapid fire for you. Give me this or that. Okay, choose creativity or perfectionism. Which is more important to you in your work?
Perfectionism.
So you're honestly, you're the first person, and I really wanted to ask you this because you can't live without both of these because your work is like perfect to the T.
It has to look like the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it could
Yes.
be very creative, but if it's sloppily painted, I have missed the boat. Like for it
Yes.
to really work as a trompe-l'oeil, it could be a sort of lousy idea, but boy, it better be painted well. So I don't like to have to pick. That's hard. That's like Sophie's choice there. I shouldn't pick. But you said I had to, and it was rapid fire.
Your work, it truly signifies your work. Like it's literally perfect. Like even the crease of the cardboard on the side, it's like it's even when you know it's tricking your mind, I still feel like it's a cardboard. What do I do about it?
That makes me very happy. Like it really insanely happy.
Okay, next questions. Early morning or late night? What is your creative zone?
Early morning. I go to
Really?
bed early. I'm old. Yeah, I'm in bed by like 9 o'clock. I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, I get up early now. I didn't used to though. That has changed. When I was younger, I would stay up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah,
that's changed.
That's changed.
Music or silence?
Music.
So, what kind of music do you hear?
I will listen to just about anything. I used to listen to like news, and I can't do that anymore because it makes my skin hurt. So now only music, and I discovered lo-fi like a couple of years ago. I love lo-fi. Like I had never heard of that. I found it on Spotify. I'm like, what is this? It's incredible. Yeah, so like anything like that, any kind of electronica, indie. I love Daft Punk. I've listened to Daft Punk pretty much nonstop since May. I don't know why. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, I like, and I will listen to the same thing over and over again. Yeah, to the point that I don't even hear it.
Yes, this is something that I also do. So I'm like, I have very few songs or things, and I really love that moment. And I know when the day this is happening, I've had a fantastic day, because anything that's happening in the background, I know it's happening, but I also don't know what's happening. Like I have no clue what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. What is the best piece of advice you've heard from another artist?
It's one I've heard from other people, but it's also one that I give out all the time. And that is to find art friends, like finding your little tribe and your community. And that with the one good thing that came out of the pandemic is Zoom. Like I have joined Zoom groups. I have met all these amazing artists, like through Instagram, like all these places that I've made really good friends. And sometimes they're only through a screen. Sometimes we actually get to meet up in life. But like being an artist is hard. And having people that understand what you do and what you struggle with. My own friends and family do not get things on the same level that people I know over the internet understand. So
yes, I relate to this 100%.
So important. I mean, they can help you with your career. They can help you, like, you know, the nuts and bolts of gallery business, like everything. This is so valuable. Like that makes some art friends.
Yes. Okay. What is the most important lesson you've learned in your own creative career? One lesson that you would like to share.
I think don't be afraid to make stuff that you think no one's going to like and no one's going to buy. Like those paintings to me have been the most rewarding that I've made. And don't ever be afraid to make those, because there are sometimes I make stuff and I'm like, no one is going to like this. I'm going to spend a month on it. No one's going to buy it. I'm going to have that. Like I'm wasting my time here. But you know what? You have to make those pieces.
Yes.
Once in a while, you really have to make those
You have
pieces
to.
and
Yes.
stand by that.
Lovely. Okay. Has technology helped you or hindered your creative process?
I would say it's helped a lot. I mean, like, Instagram has been huge. Like, I love Instagram because, like, I don't sell anything. I don't sell. Like, what I like about Instagram is meeting people and, like, seeing art. Like, for me, that's what I love. So that's
blowing everybody's mind.
Right? Like, I'm getting to talk with you today. How would that have happened without that? Would not have happened. You know? So, like, how cool is that? You know? So I love seeing art. I love connecting with people, talking with people. I am not a tech, like, obviously I could not download the browser to talk to you today, so I'm not a
But you did it.
I did it, but you're probably like, this person is a Luddite. But anyway, this year, I took this really amazing Photoshop class and learned some Photoshop skills that I've been able to use now. And they're just kind of Photoshop for artists, but it's like, that's new. I'm like, okay, technology, here we go. But yeah, I mean, I'm down with it. Like, if it helps me, if it makes things easier, if it facilitates getting a painting done faster, I'm all for it.
Yes. Love that. Last question. What do you think is the most important thing for anyone who is aspiring to be lead a creative career, specifically women? What is your advice for them to focus on today? If they're listening to this episode, anyone who's listening to this episode.
Have art friends. Art friends, definitely. I'm always going to go back to have art friends. I think knowing that you're probably going to have to make some sacrifices and deciding on what you're going to be comfortable with. That's different things for different people. Yeah. I think being true to your vision within practicality. You know, you may also have to make some concessions there. You know, it's like, if you want to pay your rent, you may have to make those still life paintings. There's a balance. I think probably finding balance would be like, if I had to have a big, broad answer, would be balance. Because I'm a very practical girl and do like paying my rent. So, you know, I think it's both. I think you can have both. I think you just have to decide where your line's going to be. Like, this is acceptable. This is not. Here's the path I'm going to walk. So I think being aware of that consciously, thinking about it, making a plan. You know, like, making a plan for that. I think that would be my plan.
What a wonderful advice. Yes, balance. I love that. I've been speaking about this for quite some, like, in the recent videos, like, balance, how as an artist, we're impulsive people, and how balance is so much important for us also. Thank you so much, Natalie. I'm so happy. Before I let you go, what are you working on next? I know you have a lot of things happening. Where can people find you, support you? Anything that you want to share for people who are listening to you right now? This is your moment.
Yeah, no, I'm on Instagram. Like, come and say hi. Like, I love chatting and, like, connecting with people on Instagram. That is, like, I try to post every day. So, like, new things I'm working on are always up there, but I really love the connection with other artists. So, like, leave me a comment. I will always comment back. Always. Yeah, I've got 2 big shows coming up in October. I have a solo show at Meyer Gallery in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and a group show at Gallery 1261 that I'm very excited about, because that's going to be a bunch of big name artists. I'm teaching a couple of workshops.
Hey, which ones?
I'm definitely doing a Scottsdale workshop in the fall, and I may be teaching in Boston and Los Angeles this summer. I'm still trying to nail that down. But that, obviously, anything that I'm doing would be on Instagram or my website.
So anyone who's listening to this episode, I will make sure that we take all the information from Natalie. And whenever your workshops are also live, make sure you let us know so that we can spread the word for you. But for now, all the links, all the crazy paintings and her process and her images and the videos, her Instagram and the website, all of this with the Q&A, a small concise format of this episode for you to just go through, and then the link to listen to this podcast, everything on the website. We want to make this easier for you. We do not only want you to, listen or watch this episode, but also, like, see the craziness that goes behind. So I'm going to ask Natalie to share us, like, some crazy picture, something that, that will add a little more edge to our resource about you. And make sure you check that out. And if you like this episode, I think it has some incredible advices. And I think specifically when it comes to, we all I think there's a certain kind of difference of perspective when someone who's been doing something for past 30 years. And I think I really truly value that, because um, I think it's just so relieving when someone who's been doing this for 30 years and they say, like you said, like, oh, there's so many times I feel afraid. And I'm like, okay, so where I am, I'm okay. Like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. If you can do this being afraid, I can still manage. So I think this is an incredible resource. This could help so many other young artists and people who have creative aspirations. So make sure you like and let me, if you like this episode, me and Natalie know that you did. Make sure you support Natalie's work. Leave a comment like she said, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much.